Venezuela and Dominican Republic, as well as Puerto Rico. To kind of get them into the Chase for Pace series, and they're pretty excited. So we can look to increase the numbers, increase the driving quality very sooner than later. Again, we would love to have more Jamaicans in, but if they can't make it or if they don't have the time, again, racing has to go on. So,
boy, I can't keep up with the Jamaicans. I ain't carrying the foreign man them comment. Life hard for the commentary team, boy. So you see drivers jumping in and out, maybe trying to figure out their approach for this evening. Thanks to Mr. Mark Anthony Eaton for keeping something on screen for you to watch along with whilst we banter a little bit.
Sadly, we're having a little issue with Jaden with entering the server, so I'm trying to sort him out as I speak, as Kale himself is now having issues. So we may have to end up restarting the server. We may have to end up restarting the server, so you may end up having to talk a little bit more and enticing the lovely audience.
Well, I'm sure, boy, my voice in the mustard head by now. And I've been hearing it for so long and so much that, without ever meeting me, I don't know far too much about what I'll sound like.
I'm telling you. You and Mr. Brownstone.
Boy, Mr. Brownstone. I wonder if it's Brownstone when I don't reach here.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we will be taking a brief intermission. Please enjoy a little elevator music as we just try and fix these technical issues.
I'm walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
Okay, folks, as we're having another test run here, seems we're still battling some issues, but some drivers are in, others are struggling. We will see as time goes on. If ever, oi, Roper taking a drive into oblivion just now. Looks like we might still be having some issues, so we may take another brief pause here as we try to figure it out. We do apologize, as we are trying to work out some technical issues. Okay, so it seems that our issues have somewhat subsided. We will press on until we see anything else take place. But yeah, see, two drivers out on circuit, Mitch Wallace and Mark Anthony Eaton. Mark practicing what we're calling the Mark style. Give you
What exactly is the mark style, Mr. Dillon?
give you a rear view full of of a rear view full of cars, so you know you just know that somebody's there. Guess it tests your wits as a driver, you know, and it also, well, it will compromise your laps to some extent because you have to be mindful of the fact that you're that close to somebody around the track. So I don't know if it's he's testing race pace kind of scenario just to see where he can put his car, which is not a bad idea. However, it would make the most sense to have agreed it with a driver so that the driver knows what to expect in this scenario.
Right. And I guess most times if somebody doesn't want, him pestering in his rear view, they'll just let him go through.
Indeed.
If he doesn't, if he just stays behind and bothers him, no, that's where the issue comes in. But
Quite so.
for the most part, as you can see, a lot of cutting. The
Yeah,
curves.
as I told you, that's how you get around Imola. If you don't
That's
cut,
very good.
that's probably why what's his name, Chris?
So, Mr. Lacey, right?
Yeah, man.
Right.
As a rookie, might not understand that the whole cutting work around this kind of track. You know, this is one of those tracks where if you barely touch the apex, you've lost
Trust me, I
about
mean,
about 3/10 of a second.
Wicked Man Chris was definitely cussing about how come he didn't say his 154 at the end of that session and he wanted that extra 15 minutes, but his hand started to give out. So yeah, he said he'd have to come back this Saturday. So hopefully we'll actually see him. Maybe not race, but we can maybe draw him in for a quick interview or something. We can try and get the rookies more involved with the racing scene. That is something that we really want to see happen in the next few weeks. As we see these two, what do you call them, veterans or?
Well, they're no longer rookies, that's for sure.
Sure.
So if you're not a rookie, you're a vet.
There you go. To see these two seasoned drivers.
There's a good way to put it. Yeah, man, it looks almost synchronized.
I guess having the same livery, different number doesn't really help, does it?
Indeed, indeed.
Let's just take a quick look around at the cars as we go. As these teams go around, as you notice, this is car number 37. Very stylish design by Mark Anthony and Eaton. Funny enough, not wrapping his signature paint drop add-on to his livery, and I'll show you that on another car. Where's Mr.
So he had a moment behind.
Oh, he had a moment. Oh no. As you may notice, there are no names on the. Oh, as Mr. Wallace is now having his own moment. As you may notice, there are no names on the actual livery. However, if you take a little peek at the, what do you call this, the display, you'll see the three initials, or first three letters of your name.
That's the initials.
Right. As well as their position, as well as the style of the car that they are driving, the GT4.
Yeah, that certainly looks like a nuisance when you're driving along with that big LED display
in front of you.
Yeah.
As you can take a look, you see the signature paint drops by Mr. Eaton. Uses it in all or most designs. Very unique style. It does add a little difference to our liveries. So we have a look at our safety car for tomorrow evening. There will be a proper safety car livery done up for the peak performance series. As you can see, that really does take up a big space in your windscreen. But anyways, I'm sure the drivers have gotten accustomed to it. So Let's take a look at Mark and Mission as they continue their little tussle going around. Take a look at Mr. Eden.
So, I have to say, there are a couple of liveries that I'm partial to. There is a green, well, it's not the green that Jaden has. He did show me a couple of them prior to today. There's one in green that I was really a fan of. And granted, the yellow is quite pretty as well.
Right.
But I think the yellow is a little too boisterous for my taste.
My favorite is actually, I'm wondering if the green that you're talking is the one with the carbon fiber.
Yes.
That one. That is my absolute favorite. I think that's the rocket ship. Was it the rocket ship livery? It's my favorite as well. If I do say so myself. Very subtle, but still unique.
That's my style
There you go.
of car paint, with the exception of in a certain game that we won't name right now. where I get very aggressive with my choices, you know.
Really? Oh boy, you mean those races with, or those cars that you design with the pink with the blue rims? Oh, you're something else.
Bright orange one with some teal rims too. Speaking of teal rims,
You were going there. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody has their moment in their youth.
tell us about yours.
Very unique moment in my life. My mother's favorite color was teal and turquoise, so you know, as a tribute to her, I decided to paint my rims turquoise. Which, if we're being honest, they were disgusting. They weren't that bad.
Okay, so now, just for context, right? You said the rims of your motor vehicle. What motor vehicle was this? Okay. A Honda.
Yes,
I believe you drove two Hondas. There's a DC5 and a DC2.
Right.
Which one was it?
It was a DC5.
There's a DC5.
It was a stance machine though, so you know you were a little bit more unique. Alright, go on.
Remind me what color that DC5 was.
It was definitely Milano red as Mission. What is wow? Coming in at a speed there.
Did he make that corner?
No,
Of course not.
he did not. That one caught me off guard. I apologize, and thankfully taking the subject to a new means.
Chen swooping in to save the day, literally.
Oh boy.
But yeah, no, it's not that hard to get off topic and come back, you know. So I mean,
It was a Milano red.
Milano red,
Milano red.
teal rims.
Right.
Alright, I'm gonna ask you a question. Then did it stay teal the whole time?
No, they did end up changing colors after. Whoa, another runoff, but I think that's Mr. Eaton. Thank God. As the three now go out on track, let's just take a quick look at car number 604, the gilded JSRA GT4, designed by again Mark Anthony. Very tastefully done, if I do say so myself.
Very much so.
Rocking that paint splash. Mark did say that's his signature, so it's always nice to see it. It's not on all of the deliveries, but it's on most. It seems they were waiting on Mark, but Mark seems to have gone back to the pits. So
Lots of moments taking place around the circuit at this stage. I know grip is not optimum, but I mean, not too far off of optimum. So I don't know what kind. Well, here I am criticizing people's moments when I soon head out there and go have my own
There
moments.
you
So
go.
let me not criticize. You know what I mean? It's tough conditions out there. Let me preface my time out on track. Yeah, man, the conditions are tricky. You know, as a driver, you have to adjust to the situation, and this is the drivers trying to adjust.
And it does go up by 1% after every 20 laps. So I'm not expecting the track to be, granted 98 is quote unquote optimum. I believe by 96 to 97 is fast. And anything below should be a little bit on the greener side. As Mark Anthony is now joining back the fight with Jaden Harrison and Mission Wallace in this free practice session.
Boy, they're certainly giving us action to take in while we're practicing.
Definitely.
Keep the same energy for the race tomorrow, gentlemen.
I'm telling you. Again, this track does give a lot of good racing, if I'm being honest. I am looking forward to the race. I'm hoping we get the numbers. I'm excited, again, very excited to see you on track.
Getting close there.
Locking up some brakes there is Jaden Harrison. Car number 604. Again, very nice livery.
There are a few spots that could lend themselves to overtaking, but not a very wide track is Imola.
Not very. Where do you think is the number one overtaking position?
Well,
turn
no. Well, what do you call turn 3?
Actually, you tell me, because I'm wondering if turn 3 would be, or turn 2, let me say, is after long straight. Is that turn 2?
That's actually turn 3. You're right.
That's
the first
turn
time.
3.
Yeah. Because there are
Okay.
two kinks along the
Right.
straight.
So I was wondering if you should count those, but yeah, okay.
They are certainly
Correct.
counted on the track map.
Okay, so turn 3, interesting.
I do feel like that's one such spot. You know, the start-finish straight is quite wide. It just depends on the drive you get out of the final corner. You get a good enough drive. We see all of the drive. Oops, a little bit of contact there made between these two, and around they go. And that's what happens when you follow that closely. But maybe just trying to get a feel for race conditions tomorrow. Sometimes you want to figure out where you can put your car in the heat of battle.
Right.
Sometimes you don't want to be testing that on the day itself.
So back to my question now, where do you think are the best positions for overtaking this weekend?
So I don't really think you can realistically make a move into turn 3. So you'd have to get done on the start-finish straight before. You can outbreaking a person into that corner might not lend itself to stability. If you get what I mean.
Right.
So another spot is actually on the run to the second to last corner.
To the second to last corner. You're talking after the chicane.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So you can get on the brakes a little bit later and see what happens. Or if you get a better drive than your opponent out of the chicane, you could also get the move done. Well, get alongside before you get into the braking zone, because that would be the key to making the move there.
So speaking of that now, I know in the past we've had some races at Imola, and those I have entered. I haven't tested this car on this track as yet, but as you even see them go on a little AstroTurf right there, is it not extremely slippery?
Oh, so slippery.
It's slippery.
Very
I've been seeing drivers all week just use it to the best that they have and they're getting traction coming on.
So the thing is, if you put all 4 tires on it, you are doomed. You can put 2.
Interesting.
And you have to be careful how you put the 2. You cannot put the 2 with steering input.
Okay, so the steering has to be straight.
Indeed.
Gotcha. I know when we were doing it with the GT3 cars, once you touch that AstroTurf, whether it's 1 wheel, 2 wheels, 4, didn't matter. You had to literally just wait until you come off with the AstroTurf to actually...
The man getting well into the pole. Look at these two.
How we expected.
As I said, not the place to make that move.
I had to ask.
Definitely not the place to make that move. You have the corners that you look to make moves in, you have to have more than one lines that you can take through the corner.
Right.
There is only one line through that
And
corner.
cutting that chicane is that only.
It's the only line through that corner.
Understood. As we take a quick look at the track map for Imola. just so everybody can have a better idea.
Right. So coming out of turn 15 before you get to turn 17 would be one such overtaking area. And again, if you want to do it between turn 1 and turn 3, it has to get done before you get to turn 2.
Two. Right, right. I know coming out of turn 7 going into Piratella,
Short zone.
it's a very short zone, but if you put the car in the right position, it can kind of, again, it's a very gutsy move. It's a very gutsy move.
Once again, it just depends on the drive you get out of that corner. Because
Right.
if you get that, if you get a significantly better drive out of 7 on the way up to 9, then possible, maybe, but you have to be right on the tail, and yeah, mas cojones.
Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot wait to see what is in store for us tomorrow with regards to these drivers. As we know, Mr. Dillon is itching to go out on track. I may just end up calling one of our previous, as these two are going at it. It's like race day on free practice.
I'm telling you.
Mark Anthony and Michelle Wallace having some fun today, ladies and gentlemen.
Giving the fans a spectacle, you can never criticize a person for that.
Criticisms here, sir.
As we get, well, I was going to bring up the fact that Formula One should have been here last week, but you know, flood conditions kind of prevented that from happening, and we do send our best wishes to the people in and around that area. But it's good that, you know, in a virtual space, such conditions don't really affect us. If we want to go racing, we go racing. Our only limiting factor tends to be things like the internet and electricity. Formula One is over back this week, and we are in Monaco. Looking to have an exciting, well, Monaco never really lends itself to much excitement.
No, not necessarily. Unless it's for what's it? Formula E
Formula E.
with the smaller cars.
Indeed. Qualifying tomorrow should be hyped though, because it looks like 3 teams are in the running. Well, it could be 4 actually. Yeah, man. Looking at practice today.
I haven't looked at it. I didn't get a chance.
Practice today looking hype. Alonso looking very racy in that Aston Martin. The Ferrari is looking racy. We know the Red Bulls are quick. And even the Mercs look like them in the fight. But again,
With that new design by them,
yeah.
what are your thoughts as a Mercedes fan?
Boy, I will take the car looking like any kind of garbage as long as it's quick. Not to say the car looks bad, no.
Right.
I'm just saying it can look anyhow it want to look as long as it's quick.
Fair enough.
We just need to get back to winning ways.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Red Bull fans like the man sitting down beside me getting hype all of a sudden like them forget that the last 7 years were Mercedes.
Boy, at this point, it's not. I really am hoping for more of a challenge from, you know, Aston Martin or what anybody else. Or even Ferrari. You know, I saw an interview today with Charles Leclerc. With talking about the prospect of his future teammate.
Do tell.
Do tell. What do I tell?
Well, you saw the interview. I did not. Who is this prospective future teammate? And how is Carlos Sainz supposed to feel that the man them already throwing rumors out there that them replacing him?
Listen, there might just be a spot at McLaren again for Mr. Carlos Sainz.
Dasher Oscar Piastri after 1 season?
I'm just saying, maybe they could be taking Lando Norris to Mercedes if they lose Sir Lewis Hamilton. You know, anything is possible in today's day and age.
I mean, let's look at it this way, right? Lewis has been in Formula One for 16 years.
Right.
Ferrari has had many an opportunity to try and court him away from McLaren. When he was at McLaren, before he joined Mercedes, and
But there was a reason why he joined Mercedes. Niki Lauda.
indeed,
Again, when you get approached by such a legend in motorsport, it can be very enticing.
right, but at no point in time did Ferrari actually try to court him
Right.
throughout that entire process,
Right.
right? Because they were so hell bent on their big names at the time, and their big names were Kimi Raikkonen, Fernando Alonso,
Alonso.
Sebastian Vettel.
Right.
All three of those names were names that they itched to sign. Is it a racial thing? I'm not going to throw no words on nobody. Don't know, can't say. But it's no coincidence that everybody there said it white.
Fair enough.
Now, that being said, all of a sudden when you have a car that should be competitive, but you're still the laughing stock of the grid. Why? Because your car should be competitive, but you can't win a race, and your team make mistakes every other week.
Right.
You're looking to sign a driver that has, I'm not going to say he is a Michael Schumacher who can certainly build a team, or a Niki Lauda who has also built a team, but it can be coincidence that the input that he has given into that Mercedes is what brought it back into contention last year and is bringing it back into contention again this year. So there's something to be said for his input in car development and in team strategies, etc., etc. He's one of few drivers that repeatedly overrules his team on strategies,
Right.
and will call them out when they make blunders.
Right. Right.
Other drivers just take it. Look at Charles Leclerc. If Charles was any other driver, him would say words that make the Ferrari garage want to see Jesus line up.
You have a very good point. And it is always interesting to see. Excuse me, as I will apologize on behalf of Andrew, seeing that he's not feeling 100% today, so he will be missing today's practice session. However, again, we're not going to keep it too much longer. We'll just keep you until about 8 o'clock, and then you can go out on track and showcase your talent to the rest of the... Ladies and
Again,
gentlemen.
folks, remember, I am a commentator. You know,
Are we...
bears can swim, but they certainly aren't barracudas.
I do say so myself. Mr. Dillon has been putting in the time and the work, and is now the 5th fastest, only less than a second. Oh, sorry, 1.2 seconds off of Mr. Moss, or the alien massive.
The alien is right.
So, anyways, again, I would consider you a rookie. I know you have participated in a few of our events, however, you're just getting your own system at home. So, with a limited amount of time and experience, boy, rookie, you're doing a hell of a job. So I don't know if it's just because you love Imola, because I know you used to run this track on Formula One back in the day.
Yeah.
Where I used to kick you behind.
And again, I think your memory is a little hazy, my friend. You can always fact check at a later date.
Most definitely, I'll look forward to that day. As we notice, Mr. Eaton, as the truck gets up to 99% grip, Mark Anthony is now the first in the 151s, with Jaden a 10th off in second position, with Mission 8 tenths off of him. So I guess we'll just sit back and relax. Sadly, we are having a few issues again with Cale Vaden. We may have to take another intermission as Mr. Dillon aims to get on track, as well as try and restart the server for Cale to get on.
So we don't have chat this evening, or chat's not active.
I will go into the chat as we speak. I do apologize if we haven't been answering anybody's questions. We've been a little distracted, if I'm being honest.
Just want to look, normally Nick Penley's a man that is present for every session.
Right. But it seems as if he's taking a day off. I'm not seeing any messages from him today. But again, I'm sure we'll see him with his pom-poms by tomorrow evening.
Why for that?
Just saying, could drive a Ford.
Wow.
As Mr. Massive now enters into the servo.
Man, the alien himself.
Although
Something. No, you see, no. This is how I know that this man is an alien. He lands in the servo the second it go 100% optimum. Can't be coincidence.
Can't be coincidence. This is a livery that you're saying that you enjoy the most, isn't
Yes.
it? Definitely. Very subtle with the carbon fiber and little hints of neon green.
Indeed.
It's a rocket paintball experience moto car livery for the Peak Performance Series, as well as a shout out to the esports store. Dexton, big up yourself anywhere you're there, as Mr. Moss gives a little wall tap on his exit out of the pit. And a very quick restart back into the pits.
We I don't know if the drivers are sandbagging a little bit, but I know Mark have about a second in him, Jaden have about a second in him. Moscow, lap warm-up takes a few laps around this track, so we expect to see Kurt come up to speed in the next couple of laps. So, yeah. So I will head out on track to make a fool of myself. I'm sure Steen will not hesitate to point out me making a fool of myself. So this is where I take a leave of commentary absence, but you will see me on track momentarily.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back from that brief break. We will be, well, I will apologize for my co-host this evening, Mr. Dillon, as he is now preparing to enter into the servo. Once he sees the 100% grip, he knows he's not going to make that much of a fool of himself. So he is gone to prepare. He's now gone to prepare to jump on the servo this evening. As we see Mission Wallace putting in the fastest lap on the servo so far with a 151.3. Jaden Harrison 0.3 off and Mark Anthony 0.5 off. We are expecting the times to go down further and further and further. However, everybody, as my co-host was saying, or your original host, let me say, was saying earlier, it does take a few laps for you guys for the drivers to get up to speed, especially on this track. It's very narrow, so track cuts and track limits is definitely a thing. But as we do, we will just continue to watch as the drivers go around. Kurt Moss now setting the third fastest time of the lap of the session. Currently 5 tenths off, and I think that's his first valid lap. So we'll just take a minute and we'll just, watch the drivers go around and around and around as Mr. Dillon is now about to join. I will apologize. We may have to take another short break for maybe about 2 minutes or so just to restart the servo, as we're having one driver or a couple of drivers having a little bit of issue getting onto the servo for some reason. Not sure what's happening there, as they have spent most of the week on the servo. So, we do run into these issues. It is technology, so anything can happen. As we see, Mark Anthony now putting in the fastest lap of the servo of the session, with a 1:51.2. And Michel improving on his time with a 1:51.453, only 5 thousandths off of Mark Anthony. So good to see the times are dropping. Drivers do seem to be enjoying themselves. We are enjoying the beautiful liveries design on this beautiful track, the Emilia Romagna. Imola for short. We will be having a few interviews as well with some of the drivers as they go around, just to kind of engage them as much as possible, and we see get their feedback on what's happening, what's their expectations for the next few weeks coming up, as Kurt Moss now setting the fastest time of the session with a 1:51 flat. Now 2 tenths up on Mark Anthony and Mission Wallace. Jaden Harrison 6 tenths off. So let's take a look. We can take a quick lap around with Mr. Moss, see what he's about on this lap. And now, as we see, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Anthony now 9 thousandths off of Mr. Massive. Again, track temps are at about 26 degrees. The track temps are at 37 degrees Celsius. Grip temperature, track grip, is currently at 100%. So we should see the times a little bit more indicative of what we've seen throughout the week. They should say a few guys going into the 1:50s sooner than later. We will give you a little idea again of the lap times, the professional times being around 1:49.8, as Mr. Massive is now 2 tenths up in sector 1. So this could be the first driver in the 1:50s for this evening. As he starts his sector 2. I think his sector 2 ends after the chicane. After 1, 2, 3, 2 corners from here. So let's see how his sector 2 is. See where he will come out at the end of this lap. Using as much of the track as possible. Again, this track can be very tight for track limits as we come up to the end of sector 2. And he's 2/10 down on his best time. So let's see. Again, we should see a 1 minute 50s if I'm not mistaken. He's maybe a 1 minute 50.9. So let's see as he comes out to the final. Or no, that's as let's return. He's in the 1 minute 51 still. But again, as we say, we will see somebody sooner than later hit into the 1 minute 50s as we see Mark Anthony now exiting the pits, following Mr. Massive there. Take a look at Mr. Wallace. And the inevitable Mr. Chad Dillon. Seems as if he's following Mr. Wallace as they go around. Currently in sector 2. We will be just having a quick look at how the drivers react going around. We will be noticing Mr. Dillon here actually sporting Mr. Paisley's Digicel Plus livery this evening. Chad won't be participating in the peak performance, but at the same time we still want to showcase the liveries as best as possible. So he will be driving in the Digicel Plus under Michael Paisley's livery this evening. Car number 94. Very nicely done. Again, the designs were done by Mr. Mark Anthony. Ooh. So we just follow Mr. Dillon as he goes around. Let's have some fun. It should be interesting. And I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. We are just getting confirmation that Cale Vaden-Roper will not be joining us back today. Sadly, he is having a few issues with with joining the server. As we see Kurt Moss now putting his second time in the 150s, previously doing a 150.9, now doing a 150.845. As the first driver in the 1 minute 50s this evening. We'll have Mr. Ropo, since he can't join on the server, he did express that he wouldn't mind coming on the commentary for this evening, seeing that it's just me alone. And I know you guys might be, I know, as enticing as my voice may be, we can bring in a few other people to kind of get the little engagement here and there. So he is going to join us in maybe about 10 to 15 minutes. In the meantime, we may just call somebody else, like Mr. Harrison, who is now just sitting down in the pits. In a few minutes, we'll see if he would be interested in coming on board. As we say, Mark Anthony going up at 10th on his best time. Ooh, coming out there, seeing a driver. I think that would have been Mission Wallace. Yes, being a little bit squirrely, as we say, it did affect Mark Anthony's time in Sector 2. So, unfortunate, but we have another hour of driving, so I'm sure we'll see some more drivers in the 1 minute 50s sooner than later. As we notice, there's a little bit of a train, and this is kind of what we're hoping for. As you see, Mr. Massive currently, I think, followed by Mr. Dillon, followed by Mark Anthony, followed by Mission Wallace. So this track, a lot of our drivers do know it, so I am expecting a very good show put on tomorrow by the drivers, if I'm being honest. It should be a lot of close action. Everybody should know the limits of this track. Again, it is very tricky with this car. Not the best combo, but still fun, still interesting. So let's see what can be done. As Mr. Dillon was saying, this is his favorite livery. Shocker that it has to be on Mr. Massive's car. However, it is also my favorite livery out of the bunch, if I'm being honest. Or actually second favorite, behind the safety car livery that I will showcase later down. But yeah, very tastefully done, very simple and effective. We love the simple look of the carbon fiber, as Mr. Massive takes it very wide there, using as much of the track as possible. Chad Dillon definitely not following suit. Currently 3 seconds off the pace. However, we have seen him in the 151s. It takes him a little bit of time to get warmed up, so we should see him dropping his time sooner than later. As we take a look at Mr. Eaton following Mr. Dillon, with Mr. Wallace close behind. And ladies and gentlemen, we will be dragging in Mr. Harrison for a quick little talk. Always a pleasure to have him on board. So we will drag him in for a very short, quick talk. Mr. Harrison, are you hearing us?
Yeah,
How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good.
I see you've been sitting in the pits for a little bit.
Yeah.
Any reason why? You're just watching the competition?
No, I was watching the stream.
Okay, well, I definitely appreciate the support there, because we need the views as much as possible, trust me.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts so far?
Well, this combo very challenging. This track being so slippery. But it's everybody going out good so far.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to be challenging tomorrow.
Definitely. I think the racing might be pretty close, though, don't you think?
Yeah, everyone keeps on the track, yeah.
If everyone can. Very good point. I think that's our number one issue, isn't it? Not necessarily pace, but just
Yeah.
having clean driving and staying on track. We do notice that track limits are definitely, what do you call it, lenient here?
Track limits, well,
Or not lenient,
no,
sorry. No, very narrow, let me say. My apologies.
not really, but the track limits are space, but the problem is the AstroTurf is extremely slippery. It
Slippery.
just moves you off the track.
So that's what I remembered from racing here with the GT3 cars. But if I remember correctly, every time I see a driver around there, they're taking it flat out with and barely losing any grip. Or am I just not seeing correctly?
That's the chicane.
That's a chicane, right?
Yeah, I don't know how those guys carrying so much speed through the chicane.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're using up the entire exit.
Question: do you have traction control bind or bound to your steering wheel?
Yes.
Okay. I'm always wondering if it's just a case where they're just raising the traction control for as soon as I hit, coming out of sector 2 or on that chicane.
No, because like I realize that I have to turn up the traction control to the maximum, or
Right.
else I dead. But I extremely slow, like a second slow, and
Mhm.
when I turn it down, gone. Car just like I can't get around a
Yeah,
lap
right.
cleanly, confidently. I can't like say this is the lap I'm gonna do a fast lap here. Clean.
Right.
No
Right.
thing.
As we noticed, Mr. Massive now um, extending his gap on Mark Anthony and the rest of the field. Now putting in a 1 minute 50.7. However, it seems as if Mark is just having some fun playing catch up. It is a tactic of the Carters to pick somebody ahead of you and try and catch them up, and then try.
Interesting.
Right, so he's definitely enjoying himself out there. I'm assuming Mr. Dillon just let him through now, 2 seconds off. Typically it takes him a little bit more time to get up to speed, up to par. What are your other thoughts? How is preparation for peak performance going?
I haven't tried any of the other tracks so far,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, they're still learning the car. The car very difficult to learn. Still learning it. I feel the car is gonna do well on some tracks and be difficult on other tracks, as we see here.
And I guess that's the good thing about why we've been training with this car for all of May. And drivers will have 2 weeks to each race to prepare for. So
Yeah,
I'm hoping that we'll give the drivers enough time if they commit their time to their proper practice regime. It should prove quite well for the drivers. I'm hoping, at least.
yeah.
How
It being fixed.
and it being fixed, right? So you can give us a little update on that now. With that little update, what did you think of it prior, and what do you think of it now?
Well, in my opinion, the car with the setup, it had a lot of options. I know some guys were struggling getting the setup down, so they wanted it, but I feel fixed. It just levels the playing field, get rid of some of the variables, and you really see you have a lot more closer racing, more closer times. And you really see who's better on which track and can manage different situations.
Right. So now it's not about the car, but more about the driver.
Yes.
And that's what I love. Trust me.
Another interesting thing I realize here is that it's impossible to get the tires up to temp unless you burn them up.
That's at Imola.
Yeah.
Have you had that issue with any other track?
No.
Really? Okay, that's interesting to note.
Very interesting.
I know you have a few more races coming up. For anybody listening, do you want to give them a little idea of what you have planned for the month of June?
So in June I have the BMW Sim GT Cup and the CMRC IMSA Multiclass Series and this Watkins Glen 6-hour Endurance Series IMSA.
And all of those will be on. Well, let me ask you: the BMW Cup is on AC or ACC?
iRacing.
iRacing. Right. And all the other platforms are which one? Assetto Corsa only?
Yeah, the IMSA Multiclass is Assetto and the 6 hours is iRacing as well. The official event.
Okay. Well, I am looking forward to seeing you on track, brethren. Always a pleasure. And again, I always do appreciate the effort that you put into the JSRA. I always can see the practice sessions, always can see in the races. And even the off-track features that you do. You are one of the more appreciated drivers, if I do say so myself, as we see Mr. Wallace coming up on. Oh, sorry, that's Mark Anthony coming up on Mission Wallace. Again, I am excited for driving tomorrow. I'm excited to see you on track. Anything else you'd like to say to the fans out there listening?
Thanks for tuning into the stream and make sure you drop a follow.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, that was not planned. That was all him. But we do appreciate you, Jaden. Thank you for joining, bro.
No problem.
Alright, man.
Thank you.
As we are now seeing Mr. Ropo. I'm now seeing him in the commentary box.
Yes, sir.
Catching us by surprise there, sir.
Yes, one catching us. I'm catching you by surprise, just like how some of these drivers are catching us by surprise. Some of these times, throughout the week we've seen practice and the guys are doing what they usually do, which is absolutely blow those times out of the water. They're getting faster and faster, putting in more times, more laps, and
Right.
do your thing.
Right. Let me just pull up your screen. So, about how many laps have you done this week, Mr. Ropo?
Not as much as some of these guys. I've done about 15 laps so far. Probably most of that is even offline. But this track, I've gotten a good feel for this track. It's quite traditional in that it's a traditional racetrack, very wide and so on. It has very prominent brake markers, and I think it makes for good racing out of heavy braking zones, but it's also very challenging. The curbs are very high, and if you're not careful, it can really lose the car.
Definitely.
Especially in a car like this one, it's very oversteery. I hear some of the drivers say.
Right. And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't noticed, I do know a few of you have been watching our track walks videos. And the intelligent, brilliant Mr. Roper is the one that does the voicing over. So just to give him a little shout out there. The voice may sound very familiar. So always glad to have you on board, Bridget. Another fine addition to the JSRA. And sorry to cut you quickly, but as we see Mr. Dillon finally making his way into the times, now 1.2 seconds off of Mr. Massive. So as we say, he does take a little bit of time. He does take a little bit of time to catch up, but when he does catch up. I guess he would be considered a rookie in this regard. But yeah,
Here we have Eaton is only not even half a second. We can see that the top three, and this is only practice, but it's a good indicator for what's going to be coming in the race. And the top three are separated by barely half a second. It's very close. I mean, typically we'd see Mr. Massive himself like a full second ahead.
right.
So it's going to be very close going into the race, and I might add as well, these cars, these liveries that you're seeing, designed by Mark Anthony Eaton himself, they look very good. There's a JSRA logo there,
Right.
looking lovely in that yellow.
I'm telling
So
you.
shout out to him for doing a fantastic job as usual. with his liveries.
Definitely. As we see here and Mr. Wallace there having a little go around. As always, as we see Mr. Harrison and Kurt Moss now looking to see if he can match that time a little bit closer. I know he has the second fastest time overall, was it? Let's take a quick
That
look.
goes to Eaton.
It was Mark Anthony.
Yep.
Ooh. Okay. Right, you are right. With a 1 minute 50.6. 3/10 off of Mr. Moss and Jaden with a 1 minute 50.8. So very excited to see this race tomorrow. I'm really hoping that we can fix the issues with your joining the servo. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Boy, sometimes these things happen and they happen for a reason. You know, maybe this is my time to shine in commentary. You never, you never know.
No, Bridget. As I've said to you before, I want to see you as a driver. I want to see you kicking butt and taking names or kicking names and wait.
Yeah, it was the first one.
It was right the first one. Apologies. But yes, again, I was letting the fans know that we're looking at the livers, and this one designed for the safety car is my favorite currently. I love the white and the accents of the yellow and green with the signature paint splashes of Mark Anthony. I think it was very well done. This will be the safety car for this week. However, we will have a true safety car by time for the Peak Performance series, as well as moving forward with the Chase for Pace series. So, just to give a quick idea to the fans, very, very, very well done. Mark Anthony with the yellow, a little bit dirty now because he's done a couple laps on track. But still, beautiful cars, absolutely beautiful. As we take a look at Mr. Massive, the current pole sitter at the Emilia Romagna. Did I pronounce that correctly? I know we had a
Spot on.
we had track walks at the Paul Ricard race circuit the other day, and brethren, I thought you were cursing bad words. Very well
That's
done.
French for you.
Pardon my French, but you did a very good job, if I do say so myself.
Thank you. And if I may say, I know you like the white, but I have to say the AMG looks mean in green. It's black and green.
This black and green. So,
yes, man. I'm sure that's what's contributing to
the times.
Black times. Yep.
Funny enough,
Definitely.
this is Chad's favorite, and he was saying that when you have a car as beautiful as this, maybe it does motivate you to put in some faster lap time. So you could be right. You could very well be right. I'm not sure.
Adds that extra 10 horsepower.
110%. So I'm not sure if you have the energy. If you want to do a little preview of the track walks.
Sure thing. Can start right now, coming off of the long curve stretch after the King, coming up with the heavy braking zone into T1 and T2. Heavy braking zone, mind the curves, don't get the car too unsettled, and keep it flat coming out of T3. Another straight battle for position up here. We'll see on the race day, heading into the next two turns. It's a long chicane. Try to keep speed up and don't go too wide as Kurt did here on the exit, coming up to the hairpin like corner. I believe this is turn 7. Again, trying to keep minimum speed up high. Run wide out on the exit of the track to utilize all of it and power up straight up the hill. And up here is a little bit tricky, trying to spot a braking zone. You brake just a bit past the 50-meter mark and trail brake and utilize all of the track. You can even run a little wider than Kurt did here just a while ago. Coming down to Aqua Minerale, the trickiest part of this circuit is very slippery, very easy to run wide and get the car unsettled. But if you get it right, like Mr. Moss did just a while ago, you'll gain heaps of time. Coming into the last chicane of the track now, braking as late as you dare, cutting the track as much as possible as the car's suspension will allow. Again, running out a little bit wide, but you don't get a track cut penalty there, so you're perfectly able to do it. Then you just straight line it through these little kinks here, coming down the hill, braking just past the 100-meter board. Trail braking again, locking up a little bit is Kurt, but he manages to keep it tidy. Coming around the last corner, running a little bit wide, but no track cuts. And it looks like it's going to be another excellent lap from Kurt here.
And ladies and gentlemen, I swear to you that was not scripted. That was all put on Kale at the last second, and very well done, if I do say so myself. Again, always a pleasure to have you on board, Richard.
Thank you. Glad to be here, man.
So I will take a 2-minute break, but I will leave you in good hands with Mr. Ropo and Mr. Massive. Kale, please excuse me for a second.
Yeah, man, no problem. Let's continue watching as Kurt goes through sector 1. And he's just a little bit down on his time, on his fastest time, which is a 150.7. And I do completely expect to see these times dropping. I expect to see the top 3 or even the top 5 to be below the 151 mark. Right now we're seeing 150s and 151s. Everyone actually is in the 151. Chad Dillon is quote unquote the slowest driver here with a 151.9, but that is within 1 second, or almost within 1 second of the top man Kurt Moss with a 150.7. So it's very tight here, very tight in terms of times. It's going to be very competitive. We might see a huge shakeup, you know, something to disrupt the status quo. Kurt might have, not might, Kurt definitely will have a challenge on his hands here. But I guess we have to keep in mind that he may be on a quali run, you know, using a little bit less fuel, you know, maybe a little bit stiffer suspension, maybe have altered the brake bias, because these cars they're not lock set up, you know, there's a small amount of leeway with these cars, because we're trying to make it less about the car, as beautiful and as quick as these cars are. This Chase for Pace series is not so much about the car, but it's about the drivers and the talent, and that's what the JSRA is all about. Trying to hone your talent and skills that the drivers already have, and just improve that skill, you know, improve on that. So the setups are not locked, but there are a few minor adjustments you can make. And one thing, some of the drivers may not even know. If they watch the stream, they'll know. You can change the brake bias, and that's a very important part, a very important setup, part of the setup, the brake bias. So if you have that mapped on your steering wheel, you can change your brake bias on the fly. And it's little strategic tips like those that you can look out for in the track walks videos. And it's those minute details that make all the difference. Those make all the difference, you know, during a full race stint. So the drivers seem to be, you know, utilizing all of the brief practice session, getting their laps in, as Jaden Harrison puts Kurt Moss into second place with a 150.6. As I said just a while ago, we expect to see these times dropping, and Jaden is leading the pack. So Kurt, who just went to the pits, probably going to have to come out to the pits now and give a response to that time. And if we actually look at it, Jaden has managed to be faster. He is fastest now in all sectors. He's fastest in Sector 1, Sector 2, and Sector 3.
Ooh.
But it seems like Jaden is gaining most of his time in Sector 2 compared to Kurt.
And I believe that is, sorry for the absence, ladies and gentlemen, but I believe that's Jaden's personal best for the week as well.
That's right. He's in 17 laps. He's managed to put down a stinger of a lap.
And he, I do see him in the chat saying he's never doing that time again. Oh boy.
Don't listen to him, yeah.
Not listening at all, sir. You know who is in the chat? Martian 2023, we do agree with you. The car does look sick. Kimani, I see you out there as well. We're having a vote for Mr. Ropo to receive a coupon for Domino's Pizza for that excellent soliloquy or that excellent track walk analysis that he did moments ago. So we will be listening out for that one, ladies and gentlemen. As Kimani is saying, to send it to you and you come redeem it at Ochi, so you can get some. So we'll see how that works out. Jaden, thank you for the compliment. I'm going to assume that goes out to Mr. Ropo, saying excellent commentary. So I do agree 100%. Happy to have you on board with us this evening, Kale.
In response to Jaden, excellent driving, man. He's giving me something to commentate on.
I'm telling you.
all the drivers are. These guys are really quick, and the times are only gonna get faster.
I mean, with the exception of Mr. Dillon, but you know that's just because. No, I'm just joking. Again, he is the quote-unquote rookie of the league for this weekend at least. He's just getting his setup at home, and he's had a few races with us in the past. However, it's always been at the center, so he doesn't really get to train and really truly prepare as he goes into the grass and getting it to squirrel it there. Who doesn't save it? Aye. Again,
at least $1 million worth of damage. That.
Yeah.
At least.
Beauty of sim racing, isn't it? As
you can just go back to the pits.
Right. Jaden, yes, he will be racing this weekend with us. Mr. Dillon will be jumping in a race this weekend as a rookie of the weekend. So he won't be commentating. So sadly, you guys will be blessed with my voice for this weekend, you know? But we should have, or again, not sure how Andrew is feeling currently. I know he's not feeling 100%, so we wish him all the best. So we may not see him or hear from him for the rest of the week, but for the rest of the weekend, sorry, but we are wishing him a quick recovery. We'll probably eat something bad, you know? Happen to the best of us.
And to give Chad the rookie of the weekend, to give him his props, he actually has the fastest top speed in the speed trap that's taken at the end of the start finish straight. So he's actually the fastest. Technically, he's the fastest driver on the track.
You know what's funny about that, Kale? Every single week he practices for a race just because he wants to know the track, you know, so he doesn't come out here sounding like an idiot. Every single week he comes out there, he has the fastest trap speed. It is absolutely hilarious. And he's always a few seconds on, but he always has the fastest trap speed. I don't know what it is about him and the final corner, but he always just knows how to exit, it seems.
Well, if he can apply whatever he's doing for the last corner for all of the corners, I would not be surprised to see him giving Kurt a run for
there
his
you
money,
go.
Kurt and Jaden.
There you go.
As Mark Anthony Eaton is up by 0.08 of a second. Looks like he's on a fast lap, setting the fastest sector one so far.
Let's see how he
we'll
goes.
Stay with him and see how he rounds out the rest of the lap coming into the tricky Aqua Minerale double right-hander. managed to keep the car pretty stable through there, keeping to the left side to minimize the amount of time he spent turning.
Ooh, 3/10 up on his best time in sector 2 there. So won't be improving on this lap.
Well, as we know, it's free practice. It's not, we're going to see a lot of quali runs, but we're also going to see a lot of, pushing the limits, testing the
Right.
boundaries to see where they can push.
Right.
Because you don't get points. You don't get points on the
No.
in the practice, only
Not
on
at
the
all.
race. So
Not at all.
this is all just gathering data. And we know that Mark likes to gather his data.
Oh, trust me, with his 400 and how much laps did we see for this week?
It's absolutely insane as he sets the fastest third sector. So it's just to tidy up that second sector, and
Right.
we should see something special from Mark.
And I believe that's his fastest time of this session today of free practice. Finally touching into the 150s. So obviously improving. Does take his time to, warm up and get his times down. But it should also be noted that Mark is also a couple tenths faster at the center than he is at home. As he's now 100th up in sector 1. Setting
So
a
what-
purple sector 1. Sorry?
I was going to say, so whatever mistake he made, he might have made mistakes in sector 1, and he seems that he's able to get more out of it here, because this is in comparison to his fastest time, I believe. So that would be an improvement on his time. Let's see if he can improve in the second sector, the problem sector. But I think he might have just invalidated that lap there. Yes, he looks like he's going a bit slow. He might have invalidated that lap there, but we'll see what time he still
Ooh.
does.
Right. And hitting that curb on the exit of sector 2.
Yeah, 6 tenths down, but just data gathering. He's going to keep on pushing until he gets it, and that's Mark. He just, he throws everything at the wall and sees what sticks. That's one of the benefits of putting in as many laps as he does. You know exactly what works and exactly what doesn't, so you know what to avoid on a race day.
Man, I'm always impressed. If I do say so myself, I always love to see them really put in the work. So hats off to Mr. Eaton. And you know what I love about it, Kale, is every week you see him in the top 3.
That's right.
Sadly, I guess you could credit that to low numbers. But at the end of the day, his times are always, in comparison, very close to the top 3, or if not, in the top 3. So, hard work does show proof. We were making mention earlier of bringing in some Puerto Ricans, the Venezuelan guys and the Dominican Republic guys for a few races for the Chase for Pace series. So we can look to kind of build the numbers for the series, Sadly, we don't have the numbers of the Jamaicans that we would want. But, at the end of the day, we'll try and we'll keep pushing. We'll keep pushing.
Of course, and it's sim racing is unfortunately just getting to the Caribbean, just popping up in the Caribbean, and it's good to see that, our other Caribbean neighbors, they're adopting it as well, and we're able to work together to improve not just the standard of racing, but the community, to build that community and get it
Right.
more well known in Jamaica. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you think we're just here doing this for fun, your eyes would water at some of the cash prizes that are up for grabs in international competitions. Sim racing is
Not
serious
just cash
business.
prizes. I mean, you can look at the Porsche Cup that our Chief Marketing Officer, Mr. Rory Daly, is now overseas looking into. Something we've been invited in, and I believe this should be his best time coming up. Mr. Mark Anthony. Was that lap invalidated? Invalid?
It looks like it was.
Oh no.
His best time is still a 150.9, but he
Right.
did go up 1.5 tenths in the first
In the
sector.
first,
So he
I
seems
think
to have the
he's
first
figured it
sector
out.
down.
Right. So let's watch him again. But as I was saying earlier, 2 years ago in that same Porsche Cup that we were alluding to just said, first place won a 911 GT3 RS. You know, in my opinion, I would definitely kill for a GT11, 911 GT3 right now.
Some folks probably don't even know what that car is because that is, let me tell you.
Talk
Is
to
that
them. Talk to them, bossy.
you hear that, man? That is a legal weapon here. Whether you have it using it on the track or on the road, oh my goodness, man. It's the type of car where you get in, you don't want to generally be on the throttle, you want to press gas.
Yeah,
here.
man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Just making some notes or taking some notes from the comments there. Yes, Mr. Penley, that is Mr. Ropo, Mr. Kelvin Ropo that you're hearing. The infamous, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Trackwalks. Yes, sir. And Jane, I'm not so sure who will pay for the insurance, but you guys can find that out while I drive your GT3 RS, all right? So, yeah, while you guys are figuring that out, I'll pick it up from the wharf and I'll keep it safe for you until you figure it out, okay? As we see Mark Anthony now messing up in sector 3, but as he said previously, it seems he's figured out sector 1. I think he's quite comfortable if I'm being honest. He's figured out sector 1, sector 2, still having about 2/10 issues in sector 2, and in sector 3 missing out on, what was it? I think it was 5/10 just yet.
Yeah, this time around I was about closer to 6/10.
Right. And I think he lost most of that time in the chicane. I think he hit it with his tire and just went airborne, and it just said nope.
Yep, these curbs, man, these curbs are absolutely deadly.
Definitely.
Especially for a car like the AMG GT4. It's very pitch sensitive, being a GT car. So if you put it up too much on the curb, it's definitely going to unsettle the car,
Right.
and you're gonna have a hard time exiting with much speed, or you might even lose the rear end. Ladies and gentlemen, the fact that we haven't even seen anyone spinning yet, that is a testament to the level of quality of driving that we have here at the JSR.
I mean, if we're being honest, so sorry to cut you, we have seen Chad in the bar a few times.
No, man, that's just regular maintenance, to make sure that everything is in tip-top shape.
I see him turn around and give me an eye just to see.
But yes, man, it's as you say, it is simulation racing. I don't even want to call it a game. The sim that we're using, Assetto Corsa, it mimics the physics of real life. The very track surface, the surface of the tires, the weight of the car, the power, the torque, everything is modeled and replicated as it would be in real life. And real life drivers will even tell you, even some of the drivers at Dover, they practice. They practice on the sim before they go out onto the racetrack, whether it's to learn a new track or if it's to learn a new setup with their car, or any vast number of reasons why you would be using sim racing. It is as close as you can get to real life.
And sorry, just to add on to that fact, but another beauty of it is, the fact that if you crash the car, you press a reset button.
Yes.
Racing is extremely expensive. Crashing, using tires, burning fuel. I mean, as much as we love the smell, we don't love the cost. And that's one of the beauties of as mission just comes around to see Mr. Dillon. Sideways in the middle of the road. But yeah, as you're saying, we see the biggest motorsport giants using simulation as a means to really get drivers ready, prepared mentally and physically, to actually participate in their events every weekend. So you see it up in Formula E, Formula 1, rally drivers use WRC, and this is all to learn tracks, learn the limits of the tracks, learn the limits of the cars without having to really put their own life and their own cars on the line, right? So, as we see Mission Wallace now setting his fastest time. Was that his fastest time of the session? I believe so.
Looking at the live timing, yep, that was his fastest time, his last lap, a 151.3. So that puts him within now. Well, he was already well within a second. He's now just 2/10 off the top three. Very close indeed. These guys
Always a pleasure.
putting down the times and yes, to do some to even add on to what you were saying, Stephen. I think it was the Fanatic GT series that was being held last year or during the pandemic. They actually incorporated the esports teams. They made their points and their races count towards the points for the actual constructors of the real life GT series in, I believe it was 2021. And even drivers from that series, I believe one lucky driver has now become a full-time driver, or at least moved from sim racing to now real life racing due to his performance in sim racing as an esport. So there's vast amounts of opportunity, not just the money, not just the cars, but the opportunity to drive a real life race car.
Right.
Oh gosh, man, that's the opportunity of a lifetime, literally.
And my last point to add on to that, even a real life racing driver who you guys should know, former Mercedes driver Valtteri Bottas. I believe he was beaten by a sim racer at Race of Champions this year. Am I not correct? I think so. I'll have to do a quick check. But I believe Lucas Blakely took it to Valtteri Bottas and definitely gave him a run for his money. I think he actually won that race. So, and these are guys who have never, there's a virtual drifter that impressed the world as well, that never drifted a car in his life, only did it on the sim and then went out and boy, man, then put on a proper show. So you have all these videos showcased on YouTube of people actually excelling from sim racing. And even with the JSRA, we've already been approached by a few organizations. I won't name them right away. To see if we have anybody that we could present to them to represent their brand. You get me? So even in the next few years, we're hoping to have our own JSRA car to race at Jam West and Dover. And it won't be me driving. I don't want to, take away all of the wins and everything. So I'm going to bless the younger drivers with the...
Very generous.
You're very generous. Some people say my heart is too clean in a virgin, but I just have a look out for you guys, But yeah, I would love to showcase the talent, drivers who have really shown the interest and who are serious. Show that you can move from simulation racing to real life racing and excel in it. It won't be like you're going to be driving the fastest car out there, but you will be you at least be able to showcase your talent. As Mr. Jaden Harrison is now saying that I am Mr. 1 minute 43 because on this track and this car I did a 1 minute 43. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's what he was alluding to. I don't know if that is the case, but anyways, enough of me blabbering and talking crap.
Let's get on board now with Michelle Wallace coming into a fast lap here, going into the first corners 1, 2, and 3. Getting a little bit hairy there, blowing up a little bit of dust for those behind him, but he managed to keep it clean on the exit of turn 3. Heading into the second chicane. He doesn't brake much, carrying a lot of speed. Let's see how that affects him on the exit. He manages to keep it clean and tidy, keeping the car on the curb, but he's down by 3/10. Maybe that mistake in the first chicane might have gotten him, but coming out of the hairpin, he's managing to keep it very clean and carrying a lot of speed. Very important with these cars to keep that minimum speed very high. Let's see where he brakes just after the 100-meter board, as we say, missing that apex. So he would have been compromised on his exit, but let's see how he takes the tricky Aqua Minerale section. And he manages to keep it just about clean. He might have gotten away with that one. Not sure if he got a track invalidation. Coming up to the last chicane on the track. Very tricky section, very bumpy. down by 2/10 in the second sector on his best time. Not the best, but as we say, it's a practice session, just gathering information, learning where we can push, learning where we can't. Coming into the double left-hander now. Those brakes red hot from the heavy braking zone. Let's see how he uses up the track on the right side, and he does just that on the run. Back down the start-finish straight. Cutting this little kink here as much as possible. And across the line, he's actually slowing down. I'm not sure if that was, maybe he's found a problem with the car. He wants to change immediately.
I mean, what
That
could he
lap.
change though?
Well, tire pressures play a very big role in the setup of a car. So
Fair enough. And what are the changes that are available? You can enlighten the viewers.
well, the only real setup changes available are tire pressures and your electronics. So how much traction control you want, because GT3 and GT4 cars heavily dependent on traction control and anti-lock braking system. So those are the main setup changes you can make. In terms of suspension changes, there's not really any suspension changes to be made, which is a very crucial part of the car setup. But that helps to level the playing field for drivers here, as Mark Anthony Eaton is up by 1.5 tenths in the
Right.
first sector. Coming into that tricky double right-hander again now, downhill and then back uphill. Let's see if he's ironed out all the kinks. Coming
Again,
up to the
though-
last chicane,
Ooh, okay, cool. Let's see how.
he's only down by 0.5 tenth.
And this is on his personal time, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think it's on the overall time.
But we know that he has basically figured out the first sector. So if he can just ace these last two corners, I expect to see an improvement from Mark Anthony Eaton.
There you go. That coming out of the chicane though, he did look like he was locking up a little bit. Let's see how that affects his time. Yeah. I did see a lockup coming, going into the chicane. So I'm not sure if he missed his braking point. I'm not sure what happened there. And then the car he just didn't have it to complete the lap. Yeah, very unfortunate because it looked like a very clean lap.
It looked like a very good lap. Only 2.5 tenths down on the provisional pole sitter here, Jaden Harrison. So Mark just did a 1:51.3. Not quite matching his best lap time, but
And again,
it was still a
purple
quite
sector
good lap.
1. So he's definitely. This is definitely he's definitely figured out sector 1. Sorry. As we noticed, Kimani was trying to join the servo. I'm not sure if he's having the same issues that you're having.
I hope not.
I hope not as well.
As you see, Mark pulling off now, heading back to the pits, maybe to make some of those setup changes I was speaking on. When it comes to the tire pressures, you have to, don't think about the tire as the entire round thing, but you have to think about it in terms of the contact patch that it's making with the road. So really and truly, even if on your typical road car, the surface of both, if I have both of your palms and you put them together, that area that they take up right in front of you is all that's keeping you in contact with the road. And it's the same here for these cars. So when you alter the tire pressure, it just affects how the tire touches the road, how it interacts with the road or the road surface. And depending on whether or not you increase your tire pressure or you decrease the tire pressure, it can alter the behavior of the car, giving you more grip out of corners, more grip in the mid corner or in the entry. And so the drivers are going to use the free practice session to go out there, put in some laps, get some information on how the car behaves, and according to their driving styles as well, and then make their setup changes from there. So maybe Mr. Dillon wants to make some setup changes as well, because he's losing it coming out of Aqua Minerale.
as we say, sorry to stop you, but Kimani now saying he just forgot his skin. The liveries. So he's back in the server. He's not having any issues. So I am happy to see. I'm going to make a quick talk with Mr. Dillon to see if he knows about the interesting traction control feature. So please excuse me for a second.
And Mr. Dillon is by himself on the track now. All the other drivers are in the pits, making their setup changes, or maybe even watching Mr. Dillon to see what he's doing. But here comes Mr. Eaton back out onto the track. I'm sure he has something in store for us. Only 2.5 tenths off the fastest time so far. We can see him weaving there, getting heat into his tires. As Mr. Eastman, Kimani is also coming out onto track. So we'll see Eaton and Eastman putting in some more laps. We haven't seen a lap time from Mr. Eastman as yet, Kimani Eastman. Hopefully that will change now that he's fully prepared, equipped with his custom livery on this beautiful Mercedes AMG GT4 car.
And sorry to cut you again, I am back. And Mr. Ropo, I'm sure you'd have paid money to see Mr. Dillon's reaction when I told him about the traction control. Because what's funny about it is, so typically if you turn off the traction, that means 0. Or in Assetto Corsa, it goes to off. So he turned it to 7, but for some strange reason with this model, the higher traction control number is less traction control for the car, which is very strange. I know it sounds strange, but 1 is the highest, with 7 being the lowest. So a very interesting feature. So he thought this whole time that 7 was the most traction you can have. So that could be attributing to his very wild back end on that Mercedes GT4. But yeah, just a quick note that his facial expression it was absolutely priceless.
So he has no excuses now. We expect to see some blistering lap times from Chad Dillon now that he's discovered traction control.
Right.
And here is Kimani Eastman starting what looks to be a flyer in his Domino's Pizza liveried Mercedes AMG GT4. Making the track as short as possible, kind of missing the left apex there, but it doesn't matter because it's keeping the top speed up into the heavy braking zone. It looked like he braked a little bit late there, but he seems to be keeping it clean through the first complex of corners, T1, 2, and 3. Coming into T4, let's see where he brakes, and does he come through this long chicane? T4 and T5. Could have used the exit up a little bit more, but it's practice. We'll see how he, gathers information and improves his lap times and his use of the track. Going up the hill now, out of turn 5. Seems to be taking it quite pedestrian. Maybe just a little bit of an exploratory lap. Maybe he's just getting the tires up to temperature. I'm not seeing his sector timing pop up here, but he is putting in quite a clean lap. He's managing to keep it on the road, keeping it pointed in the straight direction, in the right direction, and using up a lot of curb here. This is what we want to see. You want to maximize your use of the curbs and cut that corner as much as the track limits will allow to minimize your lap time. And that's a very tricky section. Coming down the hill into the second to last corner. Briefly locking up as the car is spitting flames as he's downshifting. Using up all the track on the right side out to the last corner. Coming up to the kink and down the start-finish straight. And he's just now starting this lap. It looks like he had invalidated that last one. No, he hadn't. He puts in a 153.8, so that definitely was just a side lap, warming his tires. So you see him being a little bit cautious there into the first complex of corners once again. I guess he's slowly, ramping it up. You see where the car sticks, and then you lap over lap increase your usage of the track much better through there, using up the track more. 3/10 down on what I believe is his best time, so there's a lot more time left in it. Coming up the hill now. Another tricky section because it's quite a flat corner. It's quite a flat corner, not much camber there to help you go around that corner. So you might find yourself sliding. That's why it's important to utilize as much of the track as possible. Coming into the double left-hander now. Seems to have gotten it spot on. What is his time coming through the second sector? 1.2 seconds, 1.1 seconds down on his best time. So let's give Mr. Eastman the benefit of the doubt here. He's just doing some side laps. Maybe just showing off this beautiful livery to the fans around the track. Getting a little bit messy there.
This beautiful livery that apparently is making a few of the viewers hungry. As we're getting a few comments there from Jaden saying, looks very tasty with the LOL snack stop and the Domino's livery all around. We are proud of to have these sponsors on board with us, getting ready for the Peak Performance Series. As we just take a quick look at Kimani's number 55 Domino's Pizza Livery. Let's take a look. I think we have Jaden Harrison and Mark Anthony also on track. As we take a look at our current pole sitter, Jaden Harrison, with Mark Anthony chasing closely behind. Ooh, apparently Kimani saying he forgot a few features, and the screen looks a little bit blurry, so I'm assuming you should get that sorted out, and we'll be back with us in a little while.
And I'm sorry to take the spotlight off Jaden, but I can see that Mark in the background there is looking menacing. I'm seeing him use up so much of the track coming up behind Jaden. So I'm not sure if he was on a flyer or not, but whatever he's doing, he's definitely driving that car to its limits. As is Jaden. I know Jaden said he won't be able to replicate that time. Please, ladies and gentlemen, ignore him. Jaden is one of our top drivers here at JSRA. So we are expecting it to be, if anything, a close battle between these two.
As it is every week. And I am anticipating you will be up there as well, Mr. Ropo. As well as Kurt Moss and Mr. Wallace. If we do see him finally come on track, let's say.
Ooh. Here we have in very close proximity, Mr. Eaton and Mr. Harrison, and it's good to see them. They might not be outright battling, but it's good to get up close and personal, because this is what you're going to expect for race day tomorrow. You're going to be, around other drivers in close proximity, racing, battling, trying to follow each other's lines and so on. And even the aerodynamics is modeled in Assetto Corsa. So you can experience what is known as dirty air, where the aerodynamic wake of the car in front affects or negatively affects the car behind in most cases, in these tight, twisty sections here that we see Jaden and Mark going through. Getting really close now. Is this a taste of things to come tomorrow? I certainly hope so.
I certainly hope so. Mark Anthony always putting on a good show with Jaden Harrison. So I am looking forward to tomorrow's debut. It's always very fun to watch these drivers in action. As Jaden said earlier, all we want to do is, or we hope for at least, is, you know, if the drivers can keep it on track, it should be quite an entertaining show.
Amen to that. Yes, Mitchen in the chat. This is exactly where you should be, on the JSRA server.
Agreed.
Putting in some times, giving these guys a run for their money.
Agreed, 110%.
Mr. Wallace, another one of our very speedy drivers here at JSRA. And he's actually, he may not be on the server, but his time that he had put is actually within half a second of the fastest time. Nothing to scoff at. Very competitive times here from all the drivers. Jaden there is exploring the track limits and even beyond the track limits. I believe it was the same Valtteri Bottas that said he didn't know that the Mercedes race cars made such good lawnmowers at Austria in 2021.
That's a very expensive lawnmower is all I'm saying.
Name brand.
Oh boy.
Almost going side by side here through the final chicane is Mark Anthony Eaton and Jaden Harrison. Even in practice, competitive spirit, it's almost tangible. You can see it two drivers, you know. I'm not going to say they're at their peak, but they are very good drivers.
Definitely, and there's still a lot of room to grow for both of them. I'm looking forward to that journey alongside them, as well as you. I notice you've been kind of excluding yourself there, Mr. Roper, but every stream we have, you are one of the main topics by Mr. Andrew Spence and Mr. Dillon, so you can exclude yourself this week because you're the one commentating, as both of them seem to take this really wide. And Mr. Dillon looking to capitalize as much as possible off of that. But yeah, as I was saying, you know, I am looking forward to the journey alongside you and all of the rest of you, the drivers. Sorry to cut you. You can go on as we see Mr. Wallace coming back into the servo.
Yes, Mr. Wallace, I was just going to mention, it looks as though he has heard the call to duty. Mr. Mission Wallace has joined the server, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll see what he has to say to that 150.6 that was set by Jaden Harrison. And we're on board here with following Chad Dillon, who seems to be doing a bit of drifting.
And Jaden
follows in sympathy.
Oh my
Both
word.
of these drivers just finding the limits.
Oh, that was entertaining. As Chad is now 1.2 seconds off of Jaden's fastest time. I think Chad's fastest time this week was a 1 minute 51.3, or was that
1 minute 51.9?
No, I think that was for today, but for the weekend.
Oh.
In totality, I believe it was a 1 minute 51.5. So I am expecting him to improve sooner than later on that best time. So just to remind everybody as well of the Peak Performance Series. You know, for the Chase for Pace series, it has been a 50-minute qualifying session with a 45-minute race. We will stick with that format for the Peak Performance Series. However, we will end the Peak Performance Series with a sprint race, and the sprint race will be counted towards your final accumulate of points at the end of the series. So we will go over everything by tomorrow in terms of points allocation, the formats of the races, etc., etc., etc. But again, we are very excited to have you guys on board, have you guys spectating. So please stay tuned as much as possible. We will be having some Domino's Pizza giveaways throughout the Peak Performance series. We'll have some questions and some fan engagement activities, so please stay tuned. As we say, Mr. Anthony Eaton, I think this should be one of his better laps. He should be setting a personal best here, as his sector 3 didn't look too bad. Around 3/10 off in sector 3. So again, he has been driving for quite some time, so I'm going to assume this is maybe his race fuel, race strategy that he's testing out. What say you?
I think Mark is doing what he always does, which is just gather as much data as possible. So whenever we see him, a 10th down, 2/10, even 3/10 down, I think he's really just, flirting with the track limits, seeing where he can push it. And I think come tomorrow during quali, we're going to see something truly special from him. I think we're going to see a blistering time.
Definitely. He's definitely mastered sector 1 so far on this track. No, Mr. Pendley, if you do win a Domino's pizza coupon, we cannot send it to Canada. However, you can redeem it when you come to visit us in Jamaica later down this summer. Or you can just give it to your friends like Mr. Kimani, who is definitely waiting for his own as we speak.
Kimani needs to put in the work.
Agreed.
And he will not have to ask anyone for any pizza. He will win himself a lovely coupon from Domino's Pizza. So that is all the motivation Kimani needs right now.
Just a Domino's Pizza, really? Not the Porsche 911 GT3, not the $50,000 Rolex? A coupon?
Well, there's stages to this thing, isn't there?
There are stages to this thing, man.
That's right.
Oh boy. Again, I'm always impressed by the graphics in this game, though. This traffic is absolutely stunning. So we've actually reached the end of our stream, but it seems as if we're still having quite a few drivers on board. Mr. Dillon is still enjoying himself at the Jamaica Advanced Simulation Center. So I guess I'll keep the stream going as long as you guys will have us. Mr. Roper, I'm not sure if I'm overextending and having you longer than you would like. So please feel free, if you want to call it quits, let me know. Or whenever you're ready.
I'm good, man. No, I'm good. I'm here and I'm enjoying myself, as I'm sure our viewers are enjoying watching the drivers, really push all out during this practice session here. And I noticed you did not say, so I'll plug it for you, the Jamaica Advanced Simulation Center is located at 30 Dunrobin Avenue in Dunrobin Plaza. So those of you who are wondering how they can get started in sim racing or a seat and you want to start taking it seriously, you might not have your own equipment at home, you can DM us on Instagram. We can schedule an appointment for you to come in and you can have a session. We do 30 minutes, hour, 2 hours, as long as you'd want. So feel free to reach out to us. That's at JSRA Official on Instagram.
I just wanted to see if you're listening, but thank you for catching me right there. Very good job, sir. As we see, I'm assuming Jaden just invalidated his lap. Not 100% sure, but he was going faster in Sector 1 and Sector 2. But he did go wide coming out of that chicane right there after Sector 2. So
Jaden has has his hazards on, letting all the drivers around him know that he is a force to be reckoned with. So they'll see him coming from a mile away in the rear view mirror.
You know, what's funny is, so in my days of racing, you put on the hazards when you win a race, just to indicate to the fans, you know, I've won the race. I'm not sure if he's doing this as a sign to say, you know, pole sitter. Beware, you know what I'm saying. Foreshadowing the events to come tomorrow, but I am again assuming this is going to be a pretty fun race tomorrow. I'm very excited for it.
And if we look at this, he's only 7 thousandths of a second down on his best time, which is the fastest time so far. And it is these minute margins that make the difference between pole and even fifth position, depending on how close the field is. So he might be down 7 thousandths of a second here, but then he's up by 3 thousandths of a second in another in the second sector, and then up by even half a second in the third sector, and all of those small improvements add up to a faster time, which can change the entire narrative of a qualifying session or even the race and the entire race weekend on a whole. I mean, if we were to compare with this weekend's Formula One race weekend at
Monaco,
we all know that it's all about the qualifying, really and truly. It's that Monaco is more about the qualifying than it is about the actual race day, and that's because of how tight that track is. You know, there's not many opportunities for overtaking, so the drivers really have to be. Man, it's not even flirting with the barriers at this point. It's getting married and settling down and having kids with the barriers. That's how close you have to be getting. We see a lot of the times the drivers, even in the swimming pool section, brushing the barrier. You know, that's the level of. That's so much performance you have to try and squeeze out of the car. You have to try and squeeze it out of the track. You have to really push and give it everything. There's not too much time.
And then what's funny
there's
about
not
that?
too little time to the left.
What's funny about that is, as you said, it's such close margins. We'll look back at, what was it? I think it was, if it's not last year, I think it's 2 years ago, with the Minister of Defense, Fernando Alonso, just parking at Alpine and creating I think it was a 7-car train behind him.
Yes.
I mean, that track, one of my favorite to drive, but one of the most boring races to watch, if I do say so myself. But it all comes down to strategy. You know, how quickly
Indeed.
can you get into the pits, you know, undercut, overcut, getting out. You know, setting records like Mr. Valtteri Bottas, who currently hosts the world record for longest pit ever. But yeah, man, it's all about the fine margins, as they say. So I think tomorrow is going to be the most exciting part of the weekend. But you know, let's see.
Shall see.
So I know you're a driver. Are there any guesses for who is going to, or how the grid is going to look for tomorrow?
Well, my biases will show their dirty faces here, but I do expect to see Jaden Harrison on pole. In my experience racing with Jaden, he puts down some blistering times in practice, but he just really unleashes everything on qualifying on race day. And so I expect to see something that he didn't even think was possible on race day. So second, I'm not so sure. It looks very close between Kurt and Mark. And I'm not even sure if Kurt is racing tomorrow, but I expect the top 3 to be Jaden, Kurt, and Mark.
Interesting. Can I throw a wild card in that?
Mr. Dillon.
Let's take a look at his current lap in the Digicel Plus Mercedes AMG GT4. Again, this livery will be used by Michael Paisley in the Peak Performance Series, car number 94. However, again, because we want to showcase as many liveries as possible, we just slapped it on Mr. Commentator, Mr. Drift King himself. All right, never mind. Mr. Dillon, anyways, as we see Mark Anthony putting in a proper lap. See what time he'll be putting down today. Maybe he heard what you said and puts in a 1 minute 50.9. Was that his personal best?
Checking the live timing, that's just 3.5 hundredths slower than his fastest lap.
Wow. So I
But
think we
if
can
this is,
go on.
I was going to say,
Sorry.
if this is, if me saying that I don't think he's going to be on pole gets him to put in these laps, then I'm
There you
going
go.
to keep preaching it.
There you go.
I'm going to, yes, man, give them motivation enough.
Trust me, boy.
That's the
Preach it
level
for
of competitiveness.
Mr. Dillon, who is over there giving me the stink eye. I'll pressure on the rookie this evening and tomorrow, but no, folks, we're just having a little bit of fun here.
And it's not just about the times.
Right.
It's also about the racecraft.
Right.
So a lot of
Right.
times we've seen it where drivers come in and they have really good one lap pace. They're able to ace it on that one flying lap.
Right.
But they're not consistent.
They're not consistent. And you see that happen a lot in the Copa del Caribe competition that we're currently in. We'll be taking a break next week. But yeah, you'll see a lot of the drivers put in some blistering first laps. And then, boy, they just, after lap 1, you just see them in P10. So
tomorrow it's not just about setting the fastest lap in qualifying, but also surviving till the end of the race. So we are going to see some close racing, as you see Mark Anthony Eaton put in a 150.8, his fastest of this session. But it's not just about the fast lap time, it's about how you can race with the other drivers around you. You have to have that awareness of the drivers around you, you know, to keep the car clean and to, you know, show forth good hard racing but clean racing. Because you can't to finish first they have to finish. Thank you, Mr. Penley. I'm getting big ups from a commentary. It was my first time. You guys have been awesome with your, you know, keeping up the dialogue in the chat. So thank you.
So, question, Mr. Penley, I haven't gotten a compliment since starting, and I think this is my 3rd time doing commentary. I haven't gotten a compliment since I've started. What's going on there? Quiet, no. Boy, no, but I must commend you. I must commend you, Kale. You're doing an absolutely amazing job, brethren. With the track walks videos, I get messages almost every weekend that we post them. You know, bigging up the job that you've been doing. You and Jaden. I know you do the voiceovers for it, and Jaden does the editing and the driving. So I must commend you both. You know, you're really showing the true characters of a JSRA representative, and it's always a pleasure dealing with people like that. Big up, Mr. Pendley, and I know I'm just messing with you, sir. I'm just trying to play victim. But again, all the big ups to you and Jaden, man. Mark with his liver designs. We will even have some track livers done up for the Peak Performance Series as well that we're looking forward to. So if there are any sponsors looking out, again, please reach out. We do have sponsorship packages for most, and they're all tiered. So, you know, we will try and find the best option for you to be on board with the JSRA. Yes, I will hand it back to Mr. Ropo as we take a look at Mr. Eaton coming around. We can stick with Kimani for a little bit. Give him a little show time.
Yes, as he's I hope the nerves don't get to him as he's about to go on a fast lap here, coming around that notorious kink, crossing the start finish line, starting his new lap, coming into T123 complex heavy braking zone, but the timer is still running, so I'm not sure if he had invalidated, but let's still stay on board with him as he's just avoiding that sausage curb on the inside that can really ruin a lap. So utilizing as much of the track and the curb as possible, missing that apex there, missing the second apex, and Tokyo drifting out onto the AstroTurf. All in the name of gathering data, coming up to this very long hairpin. This corner specifically is much longer than it seems. You turn in and it just seems to go on forever. You want to get on the power, but you have to have patience. It's all a part of, gathering knowledge for the track. So you know that you don't just see it on a race day and say, press gas. No, you have to have patience with some of these corners and really get to know the track. Spend time with it. To where you can push and where you can't. And you'll find the performance depending on how much practice you put in. And here's Kimani just weaving to get some heat into the tires, getting some heat into the brakes as well. This Mercedes AMG GT4 has its brakes modeled as well, so it's not just all good looks on the outside with the iconic Mercedes headlights and taillights, but it's also very well done on the interior of the car as well as the physics of the car. As we see Kimani now starting his lap again, flashing to let I think that's Mr. Wallace know that he's on a fast lap. As he crosses the start finish line. So it's him and Mr. Wallace, I believe. Yep, him and Mr. Wallace now in tandem going around the track, making it cleanly through turns 1, 2, and 3. And it was the same Mr. Wallace that taught me that if you want to get faster, you need to spend some time behind a car that you consider slower than you, because you need to learn how to exercise control during the race. Because what sense is it if you're going to get right up behind someone and then there's no way to get around them, right? Catching is one thing, passing is another. And we see Mr. Wallace using up the curbs on the inside as well as the exit of the track. As Jaden says in the chat, turning right around that left-hand turn on the AstroTurf is the best part of this track. It seems as though Jaden is an aspiring drifter. We all know that famous line from the Cars franchise, turn left to go right or turn right to go left. And Mission and Kimani are keeping it quite clean, about a second between them as they're coming down to the second to last corner and the final corner. Back onto the start finish straight. Let's see what Mr. Eastman's time will be, because I'm looking at the live timing. Hopefully they don't catch Mr. Harrison coming out of the pits. Kimani Eastman did a 152.9, 3/10 off his best lap, and Mr. Wallace did a 154.2. Certainly just a sight lap to see what it's like behind a slower car. And we have Jaden Harrison entering the fray. We'll see how quickly he might be able to catch up to them as Kimani and Michelle come through T4 and T5. going up the hill now, around this very long hairpin, up the hill. And once again, we want to shout out Mark Anthony Eaton, otherwise known as AM Designs on Instagram, who's responsible for these beautiful liveries we're seeing. Each one of them handcrafted by him. Unfortunately, this one here is a little bit dirty, as Mr. Harrison has been exploring the grass on the outskirts of each side of the track, so the car is a bit dirty, but the beauty of the liveries speak for themselves, ladies and gentlemen. And for all those who may not have realized, we are at the Imola Grand Prix Circuit in Imola, Italy, which would have been the very same track that the Formula One traveling circus, so to speak, would have visited last weekend, but was unfortunately flooded out. So I like to think that a lot of the Formula One drivers would have been on their sims when they heard that they would not be working that week. Imagine getting a free weekend off work. And even the weather, the very weather that we can't escape in real life, we have it modeled in Assetto Corsa. So stay tuned for future races. We might even be racing at different times, maybe nighttime. We might be racing in the rain. It's all modeled in this simulation. The gap seems to be stabilizing now between Mitchen, Kimani, and Jaden. So I suppose they're all just trying to get consistent. Not pushing outright. Not total, not giving it the full beans, but just seeing if they can achieve a target lap time, lap after lap after lap after lap. Because that's what the race is, really. It's just trying to achieve a certain lap time, lap after lap after lap. Consistency is key, as we see Jaden making an uncharacteristic mistake there coming out of the last chicane. Or maybe what has gotten to him as a racing driver. I'm well aware that once someone is in front of you, you automatically start chasing them. It's just it's just a natural response. And the time of day is modeled as well in Assetto Corsa, so we can see that the sun is dropping slowly but surely as Jaden and Kimani, I believe that is, turning on their lights. No, not Kimani, it's Mr. Eaton, back out on track with their headlights on so they can see every inch of the track. Can spot their braking markers, spot their turning markers. And it's all different for each one of the drivers. Even though it is, Mitch and there having a moment, not sure if there was contact. And that leaves it just down to the two, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Anthony Eaton and Jaden Harrison. Back at it again, and I'm sure this wasn't planned, but I'm telling you, it's it's a taste of things to come. Tomorrow, we're gonna see Mark and Jaden battling it out on track. Two excellent drivers in an excellent car on an excellent track for racing. Very tricky track, but when you get it, it's very satisfying. When you get it, you get it. See if Mark here will keep things civil, as it does look like he's going for the pass. This is what we want to see. And we might see Mark here gaining on Jaden as he sits in the slipstream. Both Mark and Jaden setting slow times compared to their best laps, but they're absolutely moving heading into T1, 2, and 3. Half a second between them. Let's see if they can keep it clean for the rest of the lap. Jaden seems to be putting up well with the pressure of the yellow AMG GT4 in his rear view mirrors. Big as ever.
And that yellow is just so bright, you know, man. So it's not like you can miss it, yeah.
You can't miss it at all. As Mark is getting very close now, heading into the double right-hander he lifts, because it would be a part of my French, a very ballsy move, and it doesn't seem like Jaden was able to handle the pressure.
Again, I always find it very amusing as Mark waits on Jaden. I think Mark wants Jaden to go in front.
Yes, Jaden saying, "Nope, it's my turn to chase now."
Right.
To put him under pressure.
But
I don't think Mark is done quite yet.
Not as yet. As we will finish up one more lap of this very interesting race. We want to save some of the action for tomorrow. So we will be closing the stream after this lap, after the next lap, sorry. But again, Mr. Roper, it was a pleasure having you on board. I really hope we can get you on the servo. So once we close the stream, I'll restart the servo and see if you can get on. And we'll see if that fixes the issue. I'm not sure what would cause it, but more than anything, as much as we appreciate you on the commentary side this evening, we'd love to have you. We'd prefer to have you on track in the midst of the battles and the action. So again, really hoping that we can see you run tomorrow. Is it me or every time around that section, Mark looks like he has the run on Jayton though?
I'm telling you, he has Sector 1 figured out down to a science. He's quick through the Sector 1 every single lap.
Right.
Unless he makes a huge mistake, he's on it.
Mm-hmm. And then right here, he makes up some time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jaden seems to have him in the third sector though. Coming out of that last chicane there.
Right.
Because I think that's where Jaden has the advantage. But definitely for the rest of this weekend, he has truly gotten that Sector 1 down.
Definitely. And we've seen it all weekend too. As we say again, as you said in Sector 3, man. Making a little mistake there, a little bit late on his brakes, clipping the curb and just unstabilizing that car. Or destabilizing that car. Wow. Please excuse my Spanish.
No habla inglés.
No habla inglés. My Latin American and other Caribbean, Spanish-speaking Caribbean countries, I really hope they're not listening to this stream tonight because they'll be so disappointed. I promised them over and over that I'd start practicing my own Spanish, you know, but no, it's gonna take me a little bit of time. But again, I am pretty excited for tomorrow. I think this track will prove quite interesting, if I'm being honest. As long as we get the proper turnout from the drivers, the viewers, you guys should have a proper race coming up. So, as Mr. Drift King or Toge Prince, Kimani Eastman making a little mistake there. I'm not sure if it was him and Mr. Wallace. But, Mr. Harrison on a flyer now. I guess this will be the last lap, as we have to see what happens here.
1.8 tenths up on his fastest time, the fastest time set during this session. Let's see if he had taken it cleanly through the second sector, and he's lost it all.
He was 3 tenths down on his time though, so I'm guessing he wasn't gonna make that best lap either way. But again, I'm guessing these drivers are going to showcase everything. As you hear the stupidest horn you'll ever hear.
I quite like it, I quite like it.
It's always a shock when I hear it on one of these cars. I apologize, but ladies and gentlemen, this RJ, I know you're listening to this stream. Keep it up. This does bring the stream to an end, and thank you for joining us this evening. For a free practice session, and it seems as if the drivers will be enjoying a little bit more time on the server tonight. Again, I will restart the server, Kale, so you can see if you can get on board and join in on the action.
Get close to these times.
Right. So again, guys, thank you for listening, and we will be signing off now. Have a great evening, and I guess let me get a conclusion from your host with the most, so Kale Roper.
Right. Thank you guys for watching again. It has been a very interesting and very exciting free practice session. We have seen 3 different drivers at the top of the timing sheets, and we expect to see we expect to have a good turnout tomorrow for the race, and a very exciting race. So thanks again for watching, and thank you for having me.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Kale. Thank you so much, brother.